Texas has signed a bill into law that would prevent discussions about current events and racism in the classroom. Yes, this is the ongoing story about critical race theory and how the GOP on one hand has no idea what critical race theory is, and on the other hand goes out of its way to censor educators and indoctrinate students because their feelings get hurt when it comes to discussing very real issues that we're experiencing right now with systemic racism, but also they apparently can't handle genuine, factual course material about this country's history with racism. Now, let me give you these details. And again, this is legislation that was just signed by Texas Governor Greg Abbott, although he's not the only one. The legislation, supported by virtually every GOP state legislator, states the social studies teachers in public K-12 schools may not be compelled to talk about current events or public policy or social issues considered controversial. If they do talk about such things, they are required to present the issue without giving deference to any one perspective. So it's clearly stated that teachers can't talk about very specific things. They can't make it part of a course, for instance, to talk about the concept that someone could be discriminated against or receive adverse treatment solely or partly because of the individual's race, or the concept that an individual's moral character, standing, or worth is necessarily determined by the individual's race or sex. Also,
really fast, that's like a lot of words to say racism. Like you can't talk about racism.
That's it, that's all it is. You're right. A lot of word salad going on, but we can cut right through it and just tell you what it really is. And again, this is part of something that I've been trying to draw more and more attention to among our viewers. It's just this unwillingness of GOP lawmakers, whether they're local lawmakers or on a federal level, to really address the material concerns or the legitimate concerns of their constituents. So what do they do instead to give people the illusion that they're actually doing something? They focus on this kind of stuff without, by the way, even really understanding what critical race theory is. Like, they've been talking about critical race theory incessantly. And then when you ask specific Republican lawmakers, what is critical race theory? They don't really have an answer. And I think that's relevant to the point that I've been trying to make, right? First of all, yes, there are certainly lawmakers who are just plain racist themselves and they want to deny that racism has been a problem in the country, continues to be a problem in the country, but there's that other ulterior motive that I want people to be a little more savvy about, you know? Let me give you one more graphic just to give you context, and then I want to hear what you have to say, John. They can't make it part of a course to talk about the concept that the advent of slavery in the United States was central to the founding of the United States, or that slavery and racism are anything other than deviations from, betrayals of, or failures to live up to the country's founding principles. So it reminds me of the interaction that Ryan Grim had with his co-host on The Hill, on The Rising, right? They were filling in, and Ryan Grim said, Stalin beat the Nazis. Like he was actually an integral part of beating the Nazis. And she was shocked by that because that's not what's taught in our history classes in public schools. Very intentionally. And so I know that people wanted to make fun of her for that, but can you really blame her when we literally have a system in place that intentionally keeps, I know, keeps people ignorant?
Sure. And look, there's nuance. It's not like, United States soldiers didn't help, obviously, but they were not the bulk of it. That's just a historical fact. But really fast though, I'm just worried because this video is gonna be broadcast to Texas. So it sounded like you gave deference to one position on Stalin beating the Nazis. You're not supposed to give deference to any position. Maybe did, maybe didn't, we don't know. And the Nazis, like no, but really, we were talking about this on the Damage Report. Imagine in Texas trying to teach about the Holocaust. You can't do it. You can't do it because this sort of racism, bigotry, systemic racism, the belief that Aryan whites are better than Jews, let alone gypsies, members of the LGBT community, black Germans, like all that. You cannot teach about any of that. This is effectively Holocaust denial for the youth of Texas. Could you have a more inherently anti-Semitic education policy? I defy you to come up with one. And then I defy you to actually talk about it in a public school in Texas without getting fired. It's all madness. And it's just like, at the same time that they're saying the left has a problem with censorship. That's what the left is. That's the narrative I hear about cancel culture all the time. This is something inherently about the left, that we try to control what people say, what they do, what they think. Oh, by the way, teachers shouldn't be able to talk about anything, and we should probably put body cameras on them just in case. That's what they're actually saying. And really fast, it makes me nostalgic, I guess, for the GOP of the past, because they always were seeking to distract their base while pursuing their actual economic agenda. But at least in the past, like they got them all worked up in 2004, and they got all these state ballot initiatives to stop gay people from being able to get married. But at least in that case, gay people were actually wanted to get married. Like that was an actual thing. All their stuff this year is based on nothing.
Right.
The critical race theory, they don't teach critical race theory in elementary schools in Texas.
Yeah, exactly.
They weren't actually going after Mr. Potato Head. The book company that supposedly was canceling Seuss, the Seuss family wanted this. Like it's all made up. It's all nonsense. Why can't you come up with a wedge issue that's based on something approaching reality?
Snaps to you. Yeah, I mean, you're absolutely right. I mean, it's a made up controversy among right-wing lawmakers. Again, mostly because they want to deflect from the real issues that are impacting people's lives, and also because they genuinely don't want to allow educators to have these conversations in the classroom. This is the political party that claims that liberals are indoctrinating students across America in these classroom settings. Now, anytime you hear anything from the GOP about that, just know that they're projecting, because Texas specifically has a long history of trying to influence things like textbooks by taking historical figures like Cesar Chavez out of the social studies curriculum, replacing him with right-wing figures, all sorts of nonsense.
Thanks for watching The Young Turks, really appreciate it. Another way to show support is through YouTube memberships. You'll get to interact with us more. There's live chat emojis, badges. You've got emojis of me, Anna, John, JR, so those are super fun. But you also get playback of our exclusive member-only shows and specials right after they air. So all of that, all you gotta do is click that join button right underneath the video. Thank you.